What's good, guys? It's your boy CS back with another one. I have recovered mainly out of that super flu that I've had for the past couple of weeks, and then prior to that, I had a funeral to attend to, hence the lengthy hiatus. I am back, although I'm just kind of slugging around at the moment because if we just get straight into it, with Bitcoin, let me just pick a chart where, here we go. I'm looking at a long-term perspective now because this is technically a bear market, if not last year was not a bear market. And when the yearly candle starts like this, it doesn't really give me that much confidence, because at the start of the year, if we can just go up like this, it just means we've got a lot to crash through down to, where it could be like 46k, 42k, and you know, that illustrious number where I want to see it at, which is around 29, 30k. It all seems impossible till it becomes possible. And remember those words, because nobody thinks that Bitcoin could crash now because of all institutions and blah, blah, blah. I really do think it will come all the way down to around 30 to 40k. That's when I'll be buying again. For now, I've got my longs still running from around 82k, like you saw here where I bought. And I did mention on my last signal last week that I basically took some profits around 95, 96k, because what I wanted to see was a back test into this cluster, and went straight into the cluster and then bounced. What I want to see this week is what reaction we get here. So do we just bounce again? Do we go above it? This will be interesting to see because fear and greed is still technically neutral. And really, Bitcoin is in no man's land right now. I've said I think this has got a lot of juice to go up to around 104, 105k. Then I'd expect it to give us like the Great Depression, the Great Downfall. There's also this POC zone, or this resistance line. As you can see previously, 104,378 was a massive marker where it failed to close above so many times. And as you can see here, it was failing so many times. And then finally it flipped it. We got one back test and then couldn't even hold it. And then since then, we've just never been able to hold it. Now, there are certain signals which are saying, look, we're still staying above this pink trend line here. However, on other charts, like this one, for instance, I'm still waiting for a back test of this wedge pattern. Once we've got the back test of this wedge pattern, which could be anywhere like here, that's when I'd be going for shorts personally. I don't think we're going to get an all-time high. I could be wrong, really could be wrong. I think the fear and greed will go to greed or extreme greed. And then that's when I'd be looking for taking some shorts at that point. And that's when the full bear market slog, in my opinion, will occur. That's where I'm thinking we will get the biggest slog of crypto's history, basically. And as you can see off this pink trend line, this historic one, right? These called all the tops. So top in 2018, top in 2021, the two tops in 2021, and now we've got the two tops in 2024, 25, and here. So now I can actually officially circle this and say, you know, that was the official top. This big wedge trend line, that is the Bitcoin top. So I can literally conform to that idea that at the end of the day, I think that's it for Bitcoin in terms of maxing out now. I really do think that's it. Yes, there's some juice in the tank temporarily, but in my opinion, I just really don't think there's anything left. I think here was the perfect short where I was always looking at this as well and I did get into a short, but I closed it way too early. And what's going on now in terms of around the world with Trump looking at the invasion of like this Greenland with Denmark and so many European countries. Like I'm in the UK, so a lot of publicity is being made here in the UK of our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, not being supportive of Trump. And that's a negative outlook. Never mind what's happened with him abducting the Venezuelan president and just taking over their country. Like, shit's about to kick off. Trump at the start of his tenure said he doesn't want to get involved in foreign policy invasions or international elements. And look what's happened again. This is textbook. Doesn't matter who the president is. The Illuminati controls it as far as I'm concerned. This is textbook presidency action that we are going into a bear market. There is some type of battle war that's going to kick off. This is just a smokescreen, in my opinion. Eventually, we are going to get a massive dump. And I think eventually when Bitcoin breaks this wedge pattern, this could be taking us 3% above. So this could be taking us to 13%. And in actuality, I see this going, here to around 14-15% again. That would be pretty much the lows for me as far as Bitcoin goes into the next cycle, and where I'll be looking at buying Bitcoin again. But other than that, I just don't see how we could get a flash wick down and we could go to 104, 110. I don't think we're making all-time highs. I really don't. I just don't think there's a lot in the tank. And that's why I am long-term looking for shorts. I still got the 82k where I've taken half of my position out now. And really, I'm just looking for a flash wick up, go into extreme greed, and I'm going to be cutting everything out on my longs. I'm not even going to be taking any hedge positions. I'm literally cutting everything, taking profits, and then I'm going to be looking for shorts. That's what I'm doing personally. And the more I look at this, the more I feel like these gaps have to be filled on the SPX, which would send us down very quickly too, because I think we are very much overextended on the SPX. And, that has a rattling effect on crypto. The wave patterns, the RSIs are just screaming weaker. I just don't see how this doesn't actually fall flat very soon, the SPX. And very similarly, when I'm looking at Bitcoin on the wave patterns, technically this has got some area to maneuver in, but really I feel like this will wave up and then come all the way back down, wave up and come all the way back down. And this can happen all the way up until, end of 2026, early 2027, come up and then down. It's very similar to the position we had here. See this wave pattern? It was calling for a long, but actually what had happened was the wave pattern got reversed and then the third time reversed. So if we look at it, it went down to 18k, came up a bit, went down to 17k, went up a bit, and then the final bottom was in at 15k. So these wave patterns are telling us kind of a similar idea here. I really do feel that this is just one step away from collapsing. And maybe, look, if you want to be a conservative bull in a bear market, like maybe Shane, who doesn't take my thesis on 20k, 30k, that's fine, even 40k. I would definitely say that if you didn't take my pessimistic thesis, a thesis here at around 55k is a very reasonable target for a conservative bull, because you're still within this wedge pattern that's been bouncing since 2022. So for me, again, I'm only short-term bullish. Maybe we get a push up the next month, maybe into March potentially, but permanently into this year. I'm very, very much on the side and the fence of this being a bear market. It is very unfortunate because a lot of the alts that we were looking at, a lot of them have not moved, have done nothing. I have just sideways gone, basically sideways in the past like 2-3 months. They've got a little pump, a liquidity pump, just to get people back on board in crypto, exit liquidity, and then they can shove the price even lower and sell and sell and sell and sell. So that's my analysis, guys. There are some things that are still ticking over, like Litecoin continually keeps hitting this trend line from like 2017. Does it have the minerals to actually break, or is this technically the bottom? Like, it literally has just pinged off my trend line again. So there are signs where, you could take a long, and you wouldn't be wrong in doing so, because actually we've never broke through. So unless we get a breakthrough and a close below, then I could potentially be like, yeah, I see this being a full reversal. We've gone through, we're going to bounce and backtest, and then we're going to go all the way down, and Litecoin's going to see the lowest lows that it's ever produced. A disappointing cycle actually for Litecoin, considering it hit massive highs up here in the previous 2 cycles and literally has done nothing this whole cycle. Same with AVAX. The only thing that did do something was Solana, and obviously with the ecosystem being around meme coins, that now we look back on it with revisionist spectacles, and in retrospect we can see why that has occurred. ETH, on the other hand, obviously done nothing, and so has Doge, to be fair. Very disappointing from really the big guns of altcoins when you think about it. Solana did something, but ETH did nothing, and neither did Doge. Those were the 2 that you would really bank on too. So yeah, that's it from me, guys. It's going to be a bit of a slow burner. There's not really much for me to say, because I don't think we're going to get like flash movements as we once did in a bull market. This is going to be a slow burner. Remember, halving and all those other things that come along with the bear market. This is just where we are. So I will be taking periodic notes and looking at charts. Not as much now, because again, I'm just waiting until we get into extreme greed. Then I'll be taking shorts, and then I'll be telling you when I'll be taking shorts. For now, I'm in my long positions. Hopefully they can do something. If not, then they get hit at base entry. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed.